How's it going, everybody? This is Alex Caceres, and you're listening to Story of the Fight.
What is up, fight listeners? What is up, Will? And what is up, Nick?
Yeah, what's up? How are you, my
Fantastic.
boys?
Welcome, everybody. Again, this is Story of the Fight. My name is Ramiro. That's my boy, Will. And our boy, Nick, that's joining us today. We're going to be covering one. Which event is it, Will? Is it one Friday Fights 81 that we're going to be covering?
That's the one.
It's coming up here soon, but before we do, just want to remind everybody, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. It goes a long way. You can find us at storyofthefight.com. And let me just give this man a proper introduction. We have Nick Atkin here, who is the GOAT of reporting for one. On top of that, dinosaur enthusiast, I just learned.
Yeah.
Hey, any information you give me, Nick, I'm going to throw it out there, my man.
Jurassic World t-shirt is on, guys. You can't see it, but there's a T-Rex over there in the back.
Oh, is that right off the bat? Favorite dinosaur?
Is that what?
T-Rex. It's because I got such short arms. You know, my girlfriend calls me a T-Rex. So, yeah. You saw those short arms Yoshi? Live and in person in Denver, didn't you guys? Yeah, Yoshi. Yeah, you can see it all everywhere.
I love it. I love it. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining us, Nick. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on. And, you know, it was more of a pleasure getting to know you when we were in Denver. Just a stand-up guy, man. And, we were super excited just at the thought of getting you on and being able to cover some of these fights. In this case, a preview.
What's the least I could do for you guys? You know, you bought me a few Coors Light in Denver and a couple of steak bowls. And you're always jumping on my show, leaving comments, liking, subscribing, retweeting. So I'm so happy to be here. Everyone tells me how good your show is. I've never actually seen it because it's always at a strange time. It's 9 a.m. today, so I thought, all right, I can do that. It's Monday morning. Let's do it. I'm really excited to be here, see the magic of Will and Miro up close and personal.
Oh,
yeah, without our producer, so it'll be a good first impression of the show.
Hey, so already shout out Ganscow that's already joining us. We got Chummy Boy as well. Angie's joining us. Austin's joining us. Everybody's on the chat. Really, really appreciate it. Looking forward to just chatting it up with everybody as we go through and we cover. We got some amazing fights to cover, guys.
Yeah, it's crazy. This might be the most stacked tent pole that one has done so far. Would you say, Nick?
It's funny because it's incredibly stacked, but there's no title fight. So
yeah,
when they announced the card, I thought, oh, this is gonna struggle. Yeah, normally you have 2 title fights at least, or 3 sometimes. But then looking at it, I don't think it needs it. You know, it's so stacked, like you say. So many big names. I was just telling my girlfriend, oh, I think I'm going to get lots of YouTube traffic this week because there's some huge guys on this card. You got Superbon, Smoking Joe, both guys huge in Thailand. Takeru, huge in Japan, obviously. Solinu, huge in Myanmar. Nabil, huge in Thailand. I'm missing a bunch of people. Nongo, obviously veteran, still has a huge following in Thailand. Nabati is coming up. People are going to be interested to see that fight. Just off the top of my head, I'm sure there's many I'm forgetting. You got Sami, former champion.
Yeah.
I need to look at this card, guys. Bring it on screen. But yes, it is really stacked. It's super stacked. And to think it's all Muay Thai, I think, for the first time ever. A Friday fight or a tent pole is an entire Muay Thai card. And I think this is what they should be doing, to be honest, because one championship has really blown past the point of its MMA or its grappling kind of needing to be on these things, and Muay Thai is the hottest product they have, so why not make a big showcase of it 4 times a year?
Yeah. I think the Takeru fight, I believe, is that's got to be kickboxing, right?
I think,
but at least no MMA, no jiu-jitsu.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong there. Oh, let's say striking then, all striking card. I wouldn't be surprised if they made Takeru do Muay Thai though.
Yeah, I mean, but stacked either way, top to bottom. And Will, I was going to ask you, do you want us to start from the bottom, work our way down, vice versa? What do you want to do here?
Let's just start from the top. We'll go main event first.
Ooh, Superbon versus Nattawut. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, kind of weird. People in the chat have already kind of alluded to Atlanta. Weird main card, though, with Atlanta already set. Yeah, Smoking Joe, obviously he's double booked, right? He's fighting Tawan Chai in Atlanta for another rematch. This is pretty close to be fighting someone like Superbon. He's such a savage, so it's like I don't know. This seems close. This seems too close to Atlanta for me. Because Superbon, I mean, he's a killer, right? So even if Smoking Joe gets through this one, like, is he going to get through it unscathed and not have any issues going into a fight with Tawan Chai? Like, I would want to be 100% fighting Tawan Chai, you know? Um, what do you think, Nick?
Yeah, you said it all. I think the issue here for me, or not an issue, it's actually an interesting thing to see how it plays out, is what happens if Superbon wins? Does he slide in and replace Joe against Tawan Chai? Or even if Joe wins but he's injured, if he gets like these are small gloves, right? Everyone talks about it. You come away with hand injuries that Liam Harrison was saying on socials in some comments. I think it was my Instagram, that how his hands are still so messed up from that fight. That was a few weeks ago. Is it going to be enough time for either of these men to recover? And that is, we don't even know if Superbon will get that chance to slide in if he wins, or if he lands that head kick KO on Joe. How do you not put Superbon in against Tawan Chai? I hope they maybe come up with some sort of official thing and say, look, yeah, this is sort of like a number one contenders fight in fight week. That would be a pretty cool thing to add to this fight, because I think either man against Tawan Chai, I'm looking forward to that. We've seen them both fight him, and they've both had 5-round classics already. So I'm down with it. I hope, they do clarify that, though, if Superbon would get that prize, shall we say, if he beats Joe. But yeah, it should be a great fight.
Yeah, and just taking a look at here, you mentioned that both of them haven't lost to Tawan Chai recently. Superbon haven't beat Gregorian recently, so he's been on the win column most recent. And then we have a lot of comments coming through just asking about Superbon, and to your guys' point, what's next if he ends up taking this? We have Blunderbub. Can he do that? There's already a contract.
That's it. Yeah.
Who's to say? Who knows what the contracts look like, I
think, if Joe gets injured and can't fight, or, he might get a medical suspension if he gets knocked out, I think they could pretty easily sign Superbon in as a replacement. Would he want to do it? That's another issue. Is 8 weeks enough time to prepare for the title fight? I'm sure Superbon would do it, but it's in America as well. It's not in Thailand, so you have to factor that in. But we'll see, guys. Yeah, I don't think contracts will hold one championship back. They're pretty good at, filling things in when they need to. Yeah.
Well, when you look at Denver,
Will, that we've always talked about is styles make fights, right? So when you take a look at Superbon, you take a look at Nattawut, what's your initial impression here? And for both of you, right, how do you see this fight going down?
I mean, for me, I think Smoking Joe's going to have to – I think he's going to try to maybe overwhelm him with, like, volume. Superbon's such a good counter striker that if you start kind of, like, fighting at a slower pace, he's going to react to that and he's going to land his shots. But maybe if he can just kind of, like, avalanche him and just out volume him and just never give him the chance to land those counter shots, I would think that's what he wants to do. And then Superbon disrupt him so that he can then force him to restart his entries, and then he can make some more counter shots off stuff like that. It's an interesting fight. It's kind of crazy that we, haven't seen it before. I feel like at that weight class, there's so many like rematches and multiple fights between people that, like, how did this never happen before? It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
What do you think, Nick?
I'll leave the fight analysis to you guys. I'm just the guy who sticks the microphone in front of people's faces. I'm actually a terrible fight analysis. Like, don't listen to anything I say; it never comes true.
Hey, Nick, both you and I are on the exact same boat. So last week I went through and predicted some fights, posted them, and your boy here went 0 for 3. So now, anybody that listens, any of my predictions, just pick the exact opposite. You're going to be rolling in the dough, I promise.
Well, to Blunderbub's point, we'll see. That's kind of the sterling reporting I expect from you guys every week. I say that with love.
Shout out Blunderbub, huh? But yes, should be a really good one. And then, did you guys want to go on to the next one here that we're going to be covering?
Yeah, I think. I mean, the final thing. I think kind of like the story of this fight is almost like the stuff around it more so than like the fight itself. Like everybody, I think, is talking about like what does this mean for Atlanta and all that type of stuff more so than like actually focusing on the fight, which is going to be a sick fight. It just seems like no one's really talking about the matchup itself, which is crazy.
Yeah,
but yeah, we can move on.
All right, and is the next one the Takeru fight there?
No. I sent you the list, the bout order.
Oh yeah. So Nongo versus Nabati.
Yeah.
There we go. Thoughts on this one?
I'm apprehensive about this one. I'm not gonna lie.
Really?
As a fanboy, I'm a little apprehensive about this one.
Why so?
Nabati is a savage, dude. And I'm not saying Nongo is not a savage, but Nabati has kind of been just like barreling through people, and Nongo has been doing less of that as of late, unfortunately.
Yeah, look, man. The thing that I did notice when it comes to Nabati going up against Sua Black and Avatar is his feints. He works off of his feints really, really well, right? He does this little stutter step where he feints, he sidesteps. He's really good with his hands, man. Really, really good with his hands. Nongo's leg kicks, though.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Yeah, well, you talk about the Sua Black fight. The second time they fought, that was the first time they fought in one. They had fought previously before. And that was the whole thing. It was Nabati poking, right? And trying to get a counter shot from Sua Black. And then as soon as he uncorked that kick, bam, the left hook comes through. Yep. And I feel like, I don't know. I feel like that is, I'd be surprised if we didn't see a little bit of that in this fight. The way he kind of digs that cross to the body and he draws out your left hook or your right, whatever your lead is, right? But he pokes at you until you throw something, and then he snipes you while you throw it. And Nongo's been through some dog fights as of late.
Yeah. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, I'm worried for Nongo. I think he used to be the guy that did this to everyone else, but a mixture of things have happened since that era of Nongo. I think the last fight was the first ever Friday fights where he beat Alaverde Ramazanov, and I thought business as usual. But then we saw him face Haggerty. We saw what happened when he faced Nico Carrillo. He did get a win over Kulub Dam in between, but I think that's someone more on his, shall I say, wavelength. He is now facing this new generation of monstrous bantamweights who are not really bantamweights. Let's be honest, they're coming down from at least featherweight. They're huge. Some of them could be lightweights, like Nico Carrillo, I think. And I just don't think Nongo's got the time on his side to really build his body up, and the age factor. And also, you got to remember, he went through a pretty serious health condition last year, just before that Haggerty fight, and after he got dengue fever. And he was in the ICU hospital for a long time and nearly died, according to Chatri. That's what Chatri told me. I don't know. And then he went and I think he verified that, and he did his thing with being a monk for a couple of weeks and making merit and all that. So yeah, I just don't know why one keeps matching him up with these horrendously strong, powerful killers from the West. And maybe they don't like Nongo anymore. It's punishment, but I think the people still like Nongo and don't really want to see him get flattened like this. I would rather see Nongo fight guys like Kulub Dam in the last 2-3 years of his career. But I'm sure Nongo would tell me to shut up, and he still wants to go after the belt. And if he does want to do that, he's got to beat guys like this. So let's see. Maybe he's going to do what he did to Nico Carrillo. He had Nico a little wobbled, shall we say, with those leg kicks, and if that, he seemed close to perhaps getting him out of there. We'll see. I don't think he can go striking pound for pound with Nabati. He's going to have to perhaps immobilize him, his leg again. So we'll see. I do expect Nabati will probably, do what Nabati does and knock Nongo out pretty badly. And I would say within 2 rounds. And then he'll be in the top 5, and he'll be another guy that's going to be in that mix with Haggerty, Carrillo, Superlek. It's a pretty fun division, but
stacked division.
Superbon's got some guys on his case now, some monsters coming after as well.
Yeah, and I'm taking a look at all the comments here, and like Genevieve's coming through saying, I really want to root for Nongo, but I just don't know about this one. Chummy Boy, says his heart can't take another KO on Nongo, okay? So we got to be careful with that.
Yes.
Austin, God, I want to say Nongo would win, but not unlike Liam Harrison, time has caught up with him. So a lot of people that are definitely agreeing with y'all when it comes to Nongo there. And for somebody that's just now, right, really getting into one, my question for you guys is Nongo one of those names where you start putting a rising star up against him in hopes that he helps build up that rising star?
You mean like Frankie Edgar versus like Chris Gutierrez?
Like Frankie Edgar versus everybody in the tail end of his career?
I personally think so. Nick, what do you think about that? Do you think that's someone that they're doing that with?
Sort of like a gatekeeper, I guess. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think they're kind of. I would say Nongo is not one of the favorite sons there of one championship. You do have your gyms that are possibly more in favor. PK Scienchai, Fairtex. I think the Superbon, Nongo, Petanong triumvirate are kind of the naughty boys who used to be the favorite sons, and now they no longer are. They've all held titles in one at various points. Superbon is an interim champion still, but they kind of do their own thing. Superbon has his own gym. They all train out of. They're not associated with one of the big Thai gyms. So I think one probably aren't as high on them as they used to be, and I think they don't see Nongo as a huge asset anymore for them. So I think they're willing to risk him against some of these bigger guys. They're not going to protect him the way they do a Rod Tang or maybe even Tawancha, So I think it's up to Nongo what he wants to do with his career. Like I said earlier, I don't think he's going to turn down any fights, and he'll still believe he can beat all these guys, whoever they are. And who knows, he may prove us wrong. But yeah, I think he's at that stage of his career now. He's going to have to face a lot of these up and coming guys. He will be seen as the measuring stick, right? If you beat Nongo, you kind of get into the top 5, you get into the title contention.
Well, listening to you guys now, I'm like really rooting for Nongo.
Yeah, he's a great guy. The guy nearly died,
Yeah.
He's such a lovely person. If you ever met him, he's soft spoken, really genuine and sweet, and he's a savage. In his heyday, he was unbeatable. I never thought I'd see him lose until Haggerty.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right.
Well, because I think it's got to be one of the first few fights that you had watched live, Ramiro,
Yes.
was the
Yes.
Nongo Ramazanov. And even that, it's like, because Ramazanov's one of those guys that like, he does have like that kind of crazy cardio and kind of unorthodox, lots of volume. And even then it's like the slower start from Nongo, and you're like, oh man, this is like starting to kind of slip away from him. And then he just starts doing Nongo stuff and dig into the body. And it's just, I mean, the run that he went on was super, super cool to see. And when you start to see guys like that start to drop fights that you think, oh, they probably would have won that just a year ago, maybe. It's always tough. And then, they'll win one and they'll lose one and they'll win another. And then, Nobody is just a killer for someone like that at that point in their career.
Yeah. And Blunderbub saying it's fun to see him having a good time on his farm on Instagram. Look, I just keep on liking this guy more and more.
Yeah.
Right? Almost died, sweet, soft-spoken, and he has a farm. Give me Nongo.
His wife is lovely as well. They're just beautiful family. Got a couple of little kids, and the hardest thing about the loss to Haggerty is seeing the kids crying in the hotel.
That is rough.
That's always so hard. Real quick, Ganskow says, is he Tony Ferguson? He might sound like it based off everything we just said, but it's not quite there. Still
a higher skill set at this point in his career compared to where Tony Ferguson is now.
Without a doubt.
Much, yeah. And I think he could still beat most guys in the division, just other than these huge hulking Western monsters. I think, if you one's bantamweight division, if you go beyond that top 5, I think Nongo gives most of them a really tough run for their money.
I still take Tony Ferguson in a breakdancing battle, though, all day, every day.
Against what's her name? The Australian
Ray Gunn. Nobody beats her, though. Nobody beats her. All right, we can move on to the next one, gentlemen. We have Nabil versus Solin. Ooh.
Yeah, this is a fun one. I actually really, really like this matchup. I think this is a good place for Nabil to be, in my opinion. How old is Nabil? He's got to be. He's young,
19
right?
or 20. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I think
20.
20.
Looks
Okay.
like he's 12 in this picture that one uses.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and then you see his height. Like, oh, he's not 12.
6'3".
But for me, Nabil, he was on kind of like a meteoric rise, and then apparently they had a ton of trouble getting fights for him. So they're like, have him fight Super Leg at like 19 or so, however old he was when that happened. And obviously that didn't go super well for him.
Yeah, way to slow somebody down, huh?
Yeah, but like that's what the point I'm trying to make is like they did that. That's a big test. He failed that test. No shame in that, obviously. But since then, I like the matchups that they've given him. It's not like they're giving him easy matchups, but they're not giving him like, the best of the best, like Super Leg. And I think
he just beat Felipe Lobo, right?
Yeah, he completely neutralized him.
100%. You just couldn't get past that distance.
Yeah,
his range.
And even when he did, it seemed like he was a little worried about eating one of those step-up knees because he could just bring his knee up and it's on your chin already.
Yeah.
Just a Dream says, easy one for Nabil. I think he should win this, but I don't think it's easy.
Ooh.
I don't. I really like Solinu. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the Super Leg fight was. I think he could survive it, win or lose, and I don't think it was going to kill his career. Given he was so young, and it's probably a good learning curve for him. And like you say, I like the matchmaking they've done with him since. And the Lobo fight was a very big statement. But this is interesting because now he's fourth in the rankings, and below him is Lobo, and then all you got above him is Nongo, Carrillo, Haggerty, Super Leg. I don't think he's interested in going there immediately, though, and this is what we're seeing here. He's taking on someone who has been pretty dangerous on Friday fights. He's been building up a reputation. He's got some very heavy hands we've seen. This is interesting. I still would pick Nabil. I think he will just do what he did against Lobo and neutralize anything Solinu brings to the table. But it's an interesting one on paper. I don't think Solinu will do any. It won't shock us or surprise us. I'd like to see where he is, though, whether he can perhaps kind of get himself up into that top 5. And I really do think now, though, we talk about rankings in one. This division is one you could have 10, 15, top 15. There's a graphic floating around on social media showing just how crazy one's bantamweight division is now. So I would love to see that ranking extended. But then maybe they think they've got to do it for all of them, and they don't want to do it for all of them because some of them are just very shallow already, and 5 is tough enough to get. But I think I would love to see where Solinu would sit here, where some of these other guys would sit in this division. It's a very interesting fight. I expect Nabil decision, though. I'm just going to put it out there. Maybe I'm often wrong, guys. Frequently wrong. Never use me to bet on fights, though.
We'll put a disclaimer on the bottom on the ticker.
Yeah.
Just going by tape.
You will lose money if you listen to me. So.
Or me. It's all good.
Yeah.
Hey, shout out our boy Pepper, by the way, just coming out and saying Nabil versus Nongo. Thoughts?
Oh, man. I think...
Good to see Pepper, by the way.
Right?
Yeah, shout out Pepper.
Yeah. Thanks for the translation. Excellent translating in Denver. The man stepped into the breach and put out the fires.
Yeah.
He killed it. Yeah. Just absolute energy from Pepper.
Yeah.
I hear you've been messaging me as well. Sorry, I missed your messages. I think you've gone into my folder because I have requests. I'm looking at it right now. These boys told me you've been... Let me find you. I'm not ignoring you. I love your work, Pepper. Yeah, I can't wait to see you, hopefully in Atlanta again.
Oh, Atlanta. Looking forward to that, by the way.
And speaking to what he's saying, I think Nongo is still I think Nongo still might be a bit too much for Nabil. I think Nongo understands the game enough to kind of do to fight similarly to what Superlek did against someone like Nabil. I think that would be a big step up again for him. But I mean, it's close, right? You beat Felipe Lobo, and it's like, all right, well, like Nick was just saying, there's only so many people above him in the rankings, and you just beat Lobo, so you kind of are there. The thing I like about Solinu, though, he may not be technical enough, but he is incredible at finding holes. If you watch that Pong Suri fight where he finds the slot for that uppercut, and as soon as he does, he was like, perfect, money.
Yep.
And then he gets the knockout 30 seconds later with that shot. And someone like Nabil is always going to have certain holes just because of his build at that weight class. He's always going to have some holes. And Solin seems like a guy who can find those holes either before the fight or even during the fight and adapt to those. So that's what makes it interesting to me. I still think Nabil's probably going to take this one, but that type of like wild card factor, and Solinu, I don't think he's going to be, he doesn't seem like somebody who's going to be frustrated by leg kicks and a jab and like stifled from coming in. It seems like he's just going to kind of take those and blitz in anyways. The guy's a Terminator. So I don't think he's going to get stuck on the outside, which that could lead to a finish if you're Nabil, right? But I would be surprised if he gets stuck on the outside and gets too cautious, trying to enter on someone like Nabil.
He is a tank, man, from what I was watching. And good question came up. Ganskow asking, who comes up with the rankings for one?
Nick, do you want to take this one?
Say it again. Who comes up with? Okay, I'm on the panel. So there's supposedly a panel of media. I know I'm on it. I'm not sure who else is on it anymore. And then that makes up 50% of the decision, I think. And then the other 50 goes to internal, or whatever that means. So essentially, it's kind of useless. Every time I submit it doesn't really matter. And I never see the ones I select make it, and I always try and mess with it. I always try because I think some of the rankings are pretty. I'll try and be diplomatic, incorrect. I always. I don't think you should be in there. Let's say if you haven't fought for 2 years, 3 years, my general cutoff is 18 months. I know a lot of fighters want to fight, want to not fight, so I try and bring that into a consideration. But there are some that just haven't fought and been so long, such as women's MMA. I always talk about this. Rasahina, Tiffany Teo, 4 and 5 there. Rasahina hasn't fought in 3 years and she's coming off a loss. Teo hasn't fought in 2 years and she's essentially a strawweight. So I would get those two out, and I would put Noelle Grandjean and Victoria Souza in there. So what was the general question? Who comes up with the rankings? Media is a very small part of it, guys, and I don't have any influence. Yeah, and I just try to mess with them sometimes and put stupid things in. But
he tossed Will's name in there last time, and I don't know if that actually Will might be ranked 3rd right now. But hey, shout out for Lua, by the way. Shout out LG Poe as well. Thank you for joining us as we're going through and covering the fights. Yeah, the preview. So did you gentlemen want to move on to the next one?
Yeah, we can move on, I think. Unless you had something else, Nick.
Just tell Pepper. I see his message. Is NG? Is that Pepper?
Yeah,
it's Pepper.
Okay, yeah. I can't find your message on Instagram. Is it Instagram you message me on? Just let me know or hit me up again. I'll start a new conversation with you on there. But I got a bunch of stuff. I never look at this. I have all these things. Anyway, I'm holding up the show. So
no, you're good. You're good. First time though, we're seeing somebody go through comment and getting accepted on Instagram at the same time. It was the first for everything.
Yeah.
And real quick before we move on, Blunderbow has a point here. He says this card illustrates something that I think about a lot with one. Rankings and title belts aren't the reason I watch. I watch because they get a bunch of killers and put them in a ring.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I think yes, the fights themselves always deliver. It seems like for the most part, regardless of the rankings or this guy just got into the top 5. Now he's fighting somebody out of the top 5. He should be fighting up. But then the fight is still good anyways. I do think, though, that as they grow, especially I think in America. Like one of the biggest complaints always with like the UFC among Americans is, oh, this guy doesn't deserve this shot, or this guy should be ranked here. Why is this person still here in the rankings? Like that's such a big talking point that like in order to grow in America, it might need to shift a bit to where the rankings do matter a bit more. It can't just be the fights that are good all the time, because for some people, the politics of it is like just as enjoyable for them than the fights, So for growth, they might need to, yeah. And Genevieve says, unless it's a rug fight, and then it's just weird.
Oh, that's
We'll
awesome.
not take any ketchup slander on this show.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. Let's go and move on here. We had Sua Black versus Kulabdam. That's coming up as well. What are your thoughts on that one?
Kicker versus puncher. It's Hitmon Lee versus Hitmon Chan, pretty much.
Yeah, and you know what?
Mira's like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I don't know. But look, I'll tell you this. What's super cool is I'm going through and digging. You just see a lot of the same names keep on popping up, right? So like looking up at Sua Black, his last loss was to Nabadi, right? And then looking up Kulabdam, his last couple losses, Nabil and Nongo. So all these guys, all these absolute killers continue fighting each other. To Blunderbub's point, something that I absolutely have started loving about one, and I mentioned in the recap video, is you start seeing a lot of the top fighters just fight each other all the time, right? You don't have these fighters a lot of times that are just holding off for the longest time. You don't see them inactive for extra long unless they're in the hospital about to die or something like that, right? But it seems like all these top fighters really want to continue fighting each other to prove who the best is. It's a great product.
Yeah, there's not a ton of like ducking from the fighter standpoint that you see. That doesn't happen too often. This is a very fun matchup, though. This is a good matchup to have like kind of lower on the card. It's not like there's not really like title implications or anything like that as of yet with both these guys. I think they're both coming off a loss, right? Was Kulabdam's last fight the Nongo one?
He lost to Nabil, and Nabil knocked
lost
him out.
Nabil
finished him with a knee, right?
Got a contract, yeah.
Yeah, that was tough. Up on the ropes. Yeah. So yeah, both coming off a loss, both coming off knockouts, knockout losses. But it's a fun fight. Both these guys are action fighters. I don't think that Sua Black is going to keep him at range, though. I think Kulabdam is another one of those guys that will go into the fire, and he won't get stuck on the outside. I could see Kulabdam kind of walking him down and landing that, what is it, the left meteorite? That's his nickname, right?
Yeah.
I could see that being the case here. What do you think about this? This is a great fight to have on like a card like this, though.
Yeah, it's a great fight. I feel for Kulabdam, he's just perennially like thrown into these crazy fights. He doesn't get an easy route. First of all, he used to be on the main roster, and then he's just been perennially on Friday fights. You know what I mean? And he's never the Beal fight. You know, if he'd won, they would have contract. He's always on the verge of getting a contract. I would just give this man a contract anyway. I feel for him. I'm sure his pay is lower than he would get on the main roster. I think he deserves it. He never ducks anyone fought. Everyone's thrown at him. He's beaten a couple guys. They wanted to use him to elevate by losing. He knocked them out, such as Fabio Reyes, I think, was the big one. I love him. I'm not sure how this one goes. I'm not sure how I feel about Sua Black coming back. That was a really nasty knockout. It doesn't seem like it was too long ago. Maybe it was. When was that? I'm just gonna quickly check. But yeah, I'm excited to see how Sua Black bounces back. That was a really horrible knockout against Nabati. To the point about Muay Thai guys always kind of frequently fighting, I think that is just the culture, one. And two, if you offered a fight in one, I wouldn't turn it down right now because a lot of people aren't getting them. And I'm sure that's the whole model one is trying to create is lower purses, but you're going to get 6 fights a year if you want them. And then you might get a bonus. You're likely to get a bonus with a knockout. So do you want to wait and fight, pick your opponents, maybe fight a year, risk getting in bad books and not getting a bonus, even if you get a knockout? Or do you just want to say yes to everything? If it all goes well, you're going to pocket a lot of cash. I think that's what you're seeing with a lot of these guys in one and Lumpini now, and that is the model. I know for a fact that's the model. Yeah, 4, 5, 6 fights a year, bang them out. If you do well, you're going to get a contract. You're going to make more money. There's always fight nights, usually in Bangkok, 9 months of the year. It looks like. So I don't know what I'm trying to say. That's kind of what I'm getting at. Yeah, I'm surprised to see them back, but it's not a surprise. You know what I mean?
That's something I've noticed too. Is a lot of these, especially these names that stand out quite a bit. You see them more often in a lot of different events than you do with the other organizations. So this, Nick, thank you for that, because that gave me a really good explanation, understanding, the model and how it is that they want to get these fighters paid by also giving them more opportunities of action. That all makes sense now.
Well, someone like Roberto Solders, I know is on an incredibly high purse. You'd be astonished to hear it. I think it's something like $750,000. Mighty Mouse was on $1 million. Ong La, something like 500,000, I think. Some of the MMA guys, Mackin, the Muay Thai guys, some of the top guys here, we're on this card, probably like 20 max or whatever, 10, 15, 20. And you can just fight those guys more often, can't you? The economics of it. You can't fight a Soldage every 2 months, because who would do that? It's economically not viable. Even for someone like the UFC, I don't think would do it. So I think you're going to see more of this model going forward in one. It makes more sense financially. It tends to create better, more interesting fights anyway than some of the big name MMA guys. Would be worth it. Sold worth his $750. He's had one fight ended in 30 seconds, got kicked in the nuts. The other one he got knocked out. Not a good return on your investment. And I love the guy, but if you're throwing that kind of money around, you want to have Mighty Mouse, I think, who's going to lead your brand and bring fans in. And I'm sure Soldage has brought fans in, but I'm not trying to knock Bobby Soldage here. I do like Robocop, but this is the way I think if one wants to grow into an entity, it's going to be cheaper for them, allow them to sustain an ecosystem, and the fights are still. I'd say the fights are better than a lot of what you get with the MMA when you're spending $50K on some of the MMA fighters they have, and they don't put on exciting fights. These guys always put on exciting fights. These Solinus, Nabils, Kulab Dams, Nongos, Sua Black, everyone we've mentioned today.
We just saw it in the last pay-per-view event for the UFC, right, where the co-main event and the main event was, I guess, lackluster, if you want to call it that, and a massive production, a lot of attention on it. And there's a lot of people saying if you were to cut out the main event and the co-main event, it would have been a better card. But in this case,
I stayed out of that. I didn't watch the card, and I didn't.
Well, you didn't miss out on the last two fights.
So everyone was going, "Oh, the production looks great." I don't look for a set, when I watch the fight. I want to watch the people in the ring or the cage. It was cool, yeah, but I would rather see the action. Yeah, am I wrong? Am I being
The fight should speak. No, the fight should speak for itself more so than anything else. I think everything else is extra. But you guys both made two separate points that are kind of the same point. Some of these fighters, we see them over and over and over again, maybe too soon when they're coming back from knockouts and stuff like that. But like you said, Nick, the fights always deliver. And like Ramiro said, he's looking through this card and he's seeing a lot of names that he sees a lot, and he looks through their record and they're all the same names, right? And that's another thing that one is trying to do, right? Where everyone says it's the Trojan horse. MMA is the Trojan horse, right? Like we're just getting people to watch because they're familiar with MMA, and they'll see the Muay Thai fights because they're here for the MMA, and they'll be like, damn. But one of the biggest knocks that I've seen, at least in America, on one is people say, oh yeah, I've heard about them, but I don't know any of the fighters, so I don't watch. And it's like, okay, well, if you watched, you would. Yeah. And if you, especially because they fight so frequently, you see Sua Black 5 times a year, you're going to become familiar with him. Yeah. Eventually, right? You look at his legs and you're like, oh yeah, Sua Black's the guy with the legs, right? Like, because you see him 5 times a year and his legs are popping out of his shorts, and you're like, Jesus Christ, this guy. And they are becoming kind of more like household names almost by just constantly fighting.
Marketing through consistency.
Yes. Yeah.
Or volume. Okay. I got it.
Yeah.
I got it. Hey,
and
a lot of comments coming through too. For Lua saying MMA is very boring for me. It is way too slow. Genevieve saying UFC is consistently boring. Dark Side saying they go hand in hand, in my opinion. We need Pride production and those crazy Vanderlei fights to go with it.
Yes, they both elevate each other, right? Like if you have, I think number one, the fight itself is key, right? Like you have to have good fights.
Yeah.
Everything like we've seen that with the UFC, right? Outside of the Sphere card, they don't do hardly anything else outside of just the fights themselves, and they're continuing to grow. They made more money than every combat sports production, boxing, MMA, like everything combined last year. Literally just, only doing fights. They don't do anything else pretty much.
Apex. Over and over again.
But you see, when they do the Sphere card, how many people responded to that, because outside of the co-main and the main, like the fights were all very good. And then on top of that, you have this crazy production, and it adds to it, right? Number one, you got to get the fights right. Fights have to be good, because if you do a great production, but the fights all suck, no one gives a shit. We're like, why'd they focus so much on the production? They should have focused on the matchmaking. But when you have the good matchmaking and you have these good fights and the production value is good, now that event is like so much more memorable. And I don't know where I'm going with that. But
no, I got you.
We were all in Denver, boys, and just even that first fight when Climaco and Estupinan came out, crowd's going crazy. It was, I think Miro said to me, Rock'em Sock'em Robots, and I just about know what that reference is as a Brit. But it was crazy. And then you had the production just elevated that, I think. And for me, it was a moment where I just thought, oh my God, this is, if one can bottle this recipe, it could really succeed. It's insanely exciting fights that are cheap to put on with the grandeur and the production of a big stadium show is a recipe for success. I think, at least, I hope for one sake. Yeah. And it's just such a different vibe to when you're in Lumpini, and don't get me wrong, I like the smaller, more intimate vibe there, but nothing beats a big stadium show. For one, they need to get back to putting on as many of those as they can a year. I think, you need one of those each month if you really want to show the world you mean business. Sounds like Qatar is coming up in December again, and obviously Atlanta, November. January, I would imagine have that Impact show, the Russell Crowe show.
Yeah.
And then
Russell Crowe
I think Japan is probably not too far away again if Rodtang and Takeru win. So don't know where I'm going at this point, but production and action go together well in one. And I think you can't control MMA, like some of the people in the comments here, Genevieve saying it's boring, UFC. Mm-hmm. You can't control it. You could get a really exciting fight. O'Malley versus Merab could be crazy. Shevchenko, whatever, could be crazy. But you just don't know. You can't control it. I do know for a fact you put Haggerty and Sivlek in the cage, something's going to happen.
Oh, 100%. Everybody's jaws will drop by the end of the fight.
If it's not entertaining, I will pay you. I'll give you like $100 if Sexan and Harrison is boring. It's just not possible. You're not entertained. So I think one can control that element a little easier and guarantee excitement. Grappling MMA, same problem. You just can't tell if it's going to be good. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. I didn't really enjoy the MMA in Denver, but the crowd seemed to like it. In America, they appreciated the grappling of Souza and Elise Anderson. I thought it was a snooze fest, but they were into it.
I enjoyed it.
I loved it.
I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
You two nerds love it, but I'm just I'm a heathen now who just loves his striking and knockouts, his 4 ounce. I'm one of those. So
that's how I'm going to introduce you next. I'm going to say joining us is our favorite heathen. Striking heathen. There we go. All right. Did you guys have anything else on this one, or did you want to move on to the next one?
No. We could go. We can move on. We're 45 minutes in.
All right. We have Sam A versus Hamidi.
Yeah, this is another one where Sam A is just, how old is Sam A? He's got to be 40 or something, right?
Sam A, 40 years old.
Oh. Yeah. Okay, 40 years old. Man. Hamidi, 25. Hamidi's 25 and he punches like he's in Dragon Ball Z, and like
I get that reference. I didn't get the Pokemon one. I got that one.
It's like Sami is he's gonna be slower. It's just that's a fact. And when you're slowing down, not just like in your career, but slowing down physically, right? The like speed kills, man. At that point in your career, as Pepper says, I'm sorry, I love Sami, but who asked for this? This is not good. Dark Side, shout out Dark Side. Sami is over the hill, man. Gets KO'd too often now. He needs to retire. Hamidi just once he smells a little bit of blood in the water, he just goes to like 20 punch combo mode, and he doesn't really give you a chance to get anything off. And I just don't know if Sami can do this at this point in his career.
Yeah, both have lost to Prajan Chai here recently. Yeah, but Hamidi having beat Kong Chai here recently. Sami's lost 2 of his last 3, so it does seem just off of the records here and recents that it's going to be somewhat of a tough fight for Sami. What are your thoughts, Nick?
Yeah, they're full on just setting Sami up to get knocked out by this guy and to elevate him. That's it. They're not high on Sami. You know, he's had a bit of I wouldn't say issues, but you know, one and it's the same with Nongo. You know, Sami, Petanong. You know, there's a few guys who are not in the good books anymore who used to be for various reasons, and this isn't a favorable fight. You know what I mean? If they really love Sami, they're not going to give him this young Algerian killer who has knocked out 2 blokes either side of a loss to Prajan Chai. So I don't see it going very well for Sami. Like we say, the age, we've seen what's happened to him in the last few fights. I think he's there to take the L and move on. And I didn't even know Sami was still with one. You know, I think he keeps kind of getting these 1-fight deals. They pull him out of semi-retirement when they want him to put someone over. It's up to Sami, though, if he can cause that shock and then insert himself back into the conversation. I know when he came back a year or 2 ago to fight Prajan Chai, he was dreaming of the title and wouldn't have put it past him, but Prajan Chai absolutely flattened him. So yeah. I don't see it going well for him, to be honest, and he is well past prime. I'm happy for him to get these fights. You know, I'm sure it's helping him financially and everything, and I'm sure he still loves being a part of it. I don't see him pulling off a surprise here. Hopefully it's just, if he does lose, it's a decision. I don't want to see him get completely flattened again. It's tough to see with Sami. Obviously such a legend, such a nice guy. But I do see Hamidi getting another victory here.
Yeah, right. I could see like if I had to put like probability or whatever, right? It'd be like, I think like kind of like 8 out of 10 probably Hamidi takes this. But there's those times where like I wouldn't be surprised if Sami just pulls off, like he hits so fucking hard with his left straight that like if Hamidi does come in thinking like, oh, this guy's over the hill, I'm gonna go out there and overwhelm him, and just starts kind of throwing caution to the wind with those long combinations. If Sami could just shell and throw that left piston down the middle and catch him, like he hits so hard still. Like, you know, power's the last.
What is the last thing that goes? Yeah, it's the power with age, right?
So if he could catch him,
old man strength.
Yeah, if Hamidi can, if he gets a little overzealous, I could see Sami sniping him a little bit with that left hand. But yeah, watching a legend, you know, not just in one, but just like a Muay Thai legend, these matchups are tough. Yeah, tough.
Yeah. All right. So we still have, how many fights do we still have to left to cover? 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you guys don't mind, we'll just start moving through these quickly after you guys give your analysis or your predictions. So up next we'll cover
terrible analysis. Sorry, guys.
No, you're good, bro. You're doing a great job.
I'm not an analyst.
We have Sia Surani versus Shadow.
Oof. Yeah, Shadow's a savage, dude.
Yeah,
big fan of Shadow.
Yeah, he's coming off a 2-fight win streak. Sia Surani seems like he has not lost in one yet.
Sia Surani, he lost to, who did he lose? He lost to somebody.
He lost outside of one. He went out.
Oh, that's what it was.
it was funny with him because he beat Sitichar. He was looking incredible, and then all of a sudden he popped up somewhere else. I think he wanted to fight in France or something, and thought he could go make more money there. Lost that fight, then was in the wilderness for a year. They've just patched it up finally. I think Mehdi did his magic with Juan's matchmakers to get Siasarani back, and this is a huge fight for him. Yeah, Shadow's been on a roll in one and looked really good, especially the last couple of fights. I think he's really starting to find his groove there. It was a bit of a tough introduction for him in one, but yeah, he's really getting into the 4-ounce gloves, and he has his style where he sort of warms up slowly over 1.5 rounds and then like just unloads. So I'm interested to see how it goes, see how Siasarani comes back into the fold. He really is incredible, Siasarani. I think he has a case to be a kind of top 10 pound for pound Muay Thai fighter in one. Let's see how it goes. Has he still got it? For me, this could be sleeper fight of the whole card in terms of intrigue. Maybe not like it's going to be the most exciting, but I'm really interested to see how it unfolds.
Yeah, I feel like this one, if they weren't doing a tent pole, if these guys weren't fighting on a tent pole, this could easily be like a main event on a Friday fights. And because I don't think they would put them on like a fight night. But like these guys could easily be main event just because Shadow had so much hype coming into one, because everything he was doing outside of one. And like you said, he kind of stumbled when he first came in, right? And like everyone's like, oh, maybe we temper our expectations a bit. But since then, he's looked so good. Yeah, this is one when they made this, I was like, oh shit, dude, that's a good one. That's a
Dark Side says Shadow by murder, actually.
Ooh.
So that's hey, shout out as well. Ganscow says he's going to bed. Now thank you for joining us again, Ganscow. And shout out to All Day, All Night and Boats Magoats. That's a fantastic YouTube name. I like that one. Boats Magoats.
Boats Magoats.
All right. You guys ready to move on to the next one?
Yeah, we can move on.
All right, we have Suakim versus Waghorn. Suakim looks like he's 2-2 in one so far, and Waghorn looking to get his second fight going here in one.
Yeah, Suakim has kind of struggled every time he gets that like opportunity to fight someone big, and it's like just short. Waghorn has I feel like I've only seen him fight once or twice.
He knocked out Kong Klai, who just fought, I think, on Friday. So that's all. We haven't seen much of him, but
so it's tough to say. He's a big European guy, which is
he's one of my boys from England. I think he's on Peter's team, maybe Condition Nutrition.
Nice.
I was about to ask if he is.
Well, I'll tell you who wasn't on Condition on Friday, having used Peter first fight, was David Cook. And then, surprise, surprise, David Cook misses weight and loses his fight. Not throwing any shade, but these people who, think they can just use Pete for one fight, then they probably know all the secrets. They don't need to pay him again. They usually end up missing weight and losing. Again, the Irish bloke, Craig Coakley, lovely lad, but same thing happened to him. And then the ironic thing is they all fail the hydration. Then they come and find Pete in the hallway, like, what can I do? Pay the man he doesn't even charge that much. And if you want to pass your hydration without any issues and make weight safely and be in the best shape possible, use him. I'm just putting that out there for free. Any fighters watching the show, it's worth it. Trust me. Whatever, he doesn't even charge that much. So. I know the guys don't get paid that much either, so they want to keep their purses. But I don't even know. Yeah,
but it does seem like that was something that's kind of been missing in like Muay Thai, and one specifically is like lack of fighters having nutritionists and things like that. And it seems like that's starting to grow a little bit. And I feel like Peter, it's like most of the like big cards, at least, you see Peter attached to like 4 or 5 guys on an event.
Yeah, he's cornered the market a little bit. Any given week, he's got hundreds of people all around the world. In amateur level or like regional level, and he's constantly just giving out meal plans, answering messages. So he knows what he's doing. But
and then Blunderbo says David Cook looked cooked by the end of first round, absolutely puffing.
yeah.
Nice.
Darkside says he's going with Otis Waghorn, lots of power. Yeah, like I said, I haven't seen too much of him, but it does seem like I could see this being one of those matchups where a big guy from Europe comes through and starches somebody. I can see that.
All right. We have two fights left to cover here. Yeah, big name here, Takeru versus Zen.
But so it's not all Muay Thai, yeah. Like what I think I meant to say was it's Muay Thai and kickboxing, all striking.
All striking. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Takeru, second fight in one, right? First one was against Superlick.
Yeah, how crazy is that? I mean, I'm not sure.
Welcome to one.
Well, it wasn't even that. It was welcome to one. You're fighting Rodtang. Psych. You're fighting Superlick.
Yeah.
That's rough, man.
That's
rough.
Awesome.
But he's been out for, when was that? That was December or
January 28th.
Right?
January 28th, 2024.
Okay, yeah. Also, Takeru Bless, we got partnership in YouTube specifically because of him and that event. Because we did a fight companion podcast watching that fight. And it was by far the biggest thing we've ever done on our channel, and it's probably solely thanks to Takeru. So major props to him. I was a fan before. The match with him and Tension was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. So when one signed him, I was like, no fucking way. And then they're like, he's fighting Rodtang, and I was like, no fucking way. They're like, no, he's not. He's fighting Superlick, and I was like, holy shit, it's so good. So yeah, I think that division, now that Pampayak is back as well, I know kickboxing, Muay Thai, all this stuff, it seems like nobody really cares with as far as rankings and previous matchups and stuff like that. You could just throw Takeru, Superlick, Haggerty, Rodtang, like Pampayak, throw them all into a bucket, shake it up, and just pull two names out and have them fight. And it's going to be amazing. I could care less who wins, who loses, if I'm being honest. I just want to see all these different types of matchups. This one is... look, no disrespect to Zin. He's actually been looking pretty damn good. But I think there is a gap here. Takeru is one of the greatest. He's so good. This is a little bit of a, hey, you've been out for so long and an injury. Here's not like a layup fight by any means, I don't think. But it's not straight into Rodtang. Like everyone's talking. Like it was supposed to be Rodtang versus him, right? And they do this instead. It was supposed to be who was it before too? He was booked against
Black Panther.
Yeah. Black Panther, that's what it was. Yeah. I think that fight fell through while we were in Denver. Maybe close to that.
Pretty much.
But that being said, this should be a good fight. It's going to be an exciting fight. I would be very surprised if Takeru loses this, though. This is close to a foregone conclusion, in my opinion. No disrespect to Zin. But this is like hey, we need Takeru to get a win here before he comes back and fights Rodtang. Rodtang, you can do your thing in Atlanta. The real fight that's upcoming is Takeru. Let's just keep everybody active type thing is kind of what this feels like.
Will, I'm sure Zin will not take it personally since you said with all due respect before you said anything that would have been taken as disrespectful, so you're safe. Nick, what are your thoughts on this one?
I'm going to be a little salty here. As much as I'm excited to see Takeru fight again, and he's a really nice guy, and he brings a lot of eyeballs, so I'm sure I'm going to benefit from that. You guys are when you cover him. I just don't see the point of fighting him in Olympic Stadium where you got 3, 4, 5,000 people when you could take him to a stadium in Japan and sell out 12, 13, 15,000 and make $2 million gate. I understand that was the plan this week, was to have Takeru fight Rodtang in Tokyo. This was literally the show was meant to be this show. For whatever reason, it fell through. I think Rodtang's hands were not feeling 100% after the when did he fight? June, yeah. So that's why they also tried to get Rodtang on Denver. It didn't happen. So maybe I'm being a cynic, but this for me feels like a waste of Takeru. He should be headlining a Tokyo card. You've only got him for so many years and so many fights left. I think he's kind of in that final run of his prime, and I don't think he's going to hang around forever. He seemed to be saying that after the loss to Superlek. He was very emotional. We saw crying in the ring, and he had that horrible leg injury, and he seemed to say like, "Enjoy me while I'm here, guys. I'm not going to be here forever," and that's why I'm so these big fights for me in my final kind of push towards greatness. So to me, again, all due respect to Tanzin, I feel this is a waste of Takeru's time. That's really harsh to say because Tanzin has looked really good on Friday fights, and this is a great opportunity for him. And I'm sure he's a lovely guy as well. I just don't think it's worth Takeru's.
I mean, to both of your points, though, both you and Will say,
a lot of money as well.
That's a good point. But both you and Will say this should be a fairly easy fight, right? I'm sure there's no easy fight, but
hold on,
a simpler fight.
At least say with all due respect. First.
With all due respect to Zin. But Nick, you also mentioned possibly Japan early next year. Would this be possibly, I don't want to say a tune-up fight, right? But something to still get him active and then still have him ready for Japan early next year?
I think it's twofold. Yeah, they want to keep him. He just wants to fight, right? And he was preparing for this fight to fight Rodtang for a long time. And I think they don't want to piss him off. You don't want to have an unhappy Takeru because he can cause problems for you in Japan. And Japan is a market they want to push into, and they have done. We've seen with the Unex deal. They're going well there. And this show, I think, is kind of a big deal in Japan. They've loaded up with some big-name Japanese fighters, Takeru and Hiroki Akamoto. And the timing of those fights is interesting. If you look at the card, they're not actually on, 2, 3 from the top of the bill. They're like going to be third and fourth fight, something like that. That is because it's Japan primetime viewing then. They don't want to have these guys on at 1 a.m. in Japan. So I think they're making a showcase out of this in Japan. You've got a couple of, I think the first fight is also a Japanese guy. I don't know anything about him.
I think there's 3.
There's some. Yeah, so
that's smart. Yeah.
This is a key thing for them. I think they want to make a big deal out of it. So, what was the question? I've just gone on a tangent.
No. We were talking about whether it might end up being Takeru in Japan early next year.
So that's the plan. Yeah, they wanted to do it this time. It didn't happen for whatever reason. God knows how to get there though, because I'm hearing rumors about Rodtang, whether he's even going to fight in Atlanta in November. That is going around the Thai media now as well. So if Rodtang is going to delay his comeback, do you put Takeru on the shelf again for another 6 months? I don't know. I think they need to pull the trigger on that fight sooner than later. Otherwise, things get in the way. Someone's going to lose before they get to each other. And just like with Nico Carrillo and Haggerty, that fight's now a mess. And if you wait too long for these super fights, it just falls apart. So I think if Rodtang doesn't fight in November, I would just jump straight to this Rodtang Takeru January, something like that, February.
So it sounds kind of like a catch-22 here in this case, right? If we don't let Takeru fight, he's upset because he just wants to bang. We got to let him bang, right? And then if you don't let him fight, maybe you get an upset Takeru, damages the Japanese market. So to me, though, it sounds like this move, though, is a little bit less painful in the long run.
Yeah, unless he loses.
Yeah.
Unless he loses.
You've got people will pay big money to see Takeru in Japan. They will pay thousands of dollars US to have a box seat, in a stadium. This just doesn't sit right with me in a way. Yeah.
Pepper's in the chat too. He says, I heard Takeru signed a contract with one for only 3 fights. If that's the case,
it's got to be Rodtang.
Then you got to do Rodtang after this. You can't have him fight. And if you only have 3 fights, this is a tough one to spend it on. If you only get 3,
All right. If that's true, it makes no sense to do this fight because you want to have Superlek, Rodtang, and then I'm sure we can think of another big
anybody
crossover. Yeah.
You do Haggerty, still has his kickboxing belt, make that happen somehow. Do Pampayak is back now. Like all of those are all fun fights. And like we talked about, like, yeah, people, they fight often, they lose sometimes, they win sometimes. Like no one really cares, it seems like. Like Blunderbud was saying, I don't really care about the rankings because the fights always deliver. I could care less if Superlek fights somebody off a loss, or if Takeru fights somebody off a loss, or he lost his last fight. Like they're going to be good fights regardless of what they did their last fight. They're still savages right now. And
I think you've got to protect Takeru a little bit, because Japan is going to lose interest if one just keeps booking him in fights he loses. They'll get pissed off. B, they'll say it's like they're screwing him over. They're giving him these horrible fights, and it's going to hurt their push into Japan. I think this is the one good thing about this, and I've been shitting all over this fight. Sorry, but it's going to probably be a good, easy, nice win for Takeru. Might get a nice finish. Going to cause a lot of buzz in Japan. Going to give one some good press there and media, which they need, because Japan is a tough place to break into. They've got all these local orgs that have been there forever, and one have kind of been ruffling their feathers. Ryzen, K1, and the CEOs of these promotions have been at loggerheads with Chatri, right? They're just sniping at each other in social media. So one could do with a bit of nice bars in Japan. So maybe this is a good matchmaking.
I do think too, if they didn't do this fight and they end up doing a Japan card in January, and they put Takeru has to be on that, right? They're not going to go to Japan without him. And if it's Rodtang, that is a big ask to go a year off in between fights with injuries from your last fight straight into Rodtang. I think an active Takeru probably beats Rodtang 9 times out of 10 if I was putting money on it. And I love Rodtang.
Agreed.
I think Rodtang's very exciting.
And kickboxing.
He brings it every single kickboxing. Yeah, I think Takeru, like, there's still a decent, I think, one audience that's still. I mean, the Superlek fight obviously showcased how good Takeru is, but he lost it, and some people will kind of write him off just because of that. He's so fucking good. Takeru is insanely good. So him beating someone like Rodtang in Japan could be huge. That could be so big. But it's not as easy. Just making that fight is also very difficult, let alone the fight itself. But yeah, I don't know.
All right. Well, looking forward to that one. And we'll move on to the last one here. We had Akimoto versus Inahachi. Inahachi seems to be on a 4-fight win streak with 1. Akimoto on a 2-fight skid with 1.
Well, there's a caveat with those, because
there's a couple caveats.
Yeah, Inahachi's kind of been and gone since then, for whatever reason, and then he vacated his flyweight belt because, as Chatri said, he was ducking Superlek forever. That they basically stripped him, or he forced him to vacate, and then he went up to bantamweight, and he was given a very if you look at the opponent and the show he was on for his bantamweight debut and the slot on the card he was in, it was a total slap in the face for Ilyas Inahachi, and he did not like it. His crew did not like it. I interviewed him after that fight. I was there. They were pissed off, to say the least. Felt disrespected. They ended up leaving 1. And then they came back, because I think a lot of people who leave 1 realize it's not really, the grass is not greener a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So they patched it up. I think he got a kind of a tune-up fight on a road to 1 or something like that in Spain or somewhere. And then now he's back. So interesting to see. I think he is really good, yeah. And this is a great matchup.
Yeah, that's the big thing. He's back, right? And they did get, I mean, it's a tough fight. Obviously, Akimoto's so good, but it is like, if you're Inahachi, this is a fight that you do want to come back for. This puts you kind of like right there. A win here, you're back at like the top of the sport, really. Chester says, I'm calling it. This is a scrap of the night. Will be super high paced. Dark Side, I wish this was a 5-round fight. Austin, hype for this one. 100% should be a 5-rounder. Like, this one is on paper very cool. This one on paper
dog's
is
excited
very cool
for the fight. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Everybody's barking about this one.
I love it.
And Akimoto, the other caveat to that is on Akimoto's side, I thought he won his last fight.
Yeah,
he won.
Ray. That was
Yeah.
controversial for sure.
It was a good fight. It was close. I'm not going to say it was like a clear-cut win for him or anything like that. Or it was like a horrible decision. But I mean, here he is fighting again. Ray, I don't know if I haven't heard anything about where he's at. And
Well, I think Chester's kind of suggested on my show before to do Ray versus Petanong. Have this be like a little mini tournament. So I would like to see that. Yeah, and then the winners can fight Haggerty maybe, or if Haggerty's gonna be busy, do an interim belt. Let's see.
The one thing that bummed me out with the Superlek knockout over Haggerty is now they're talking about Superlek going and getting the other belt, right? Which ties up Haggerty more. And like a win here, you could use that to justify a title shot for Akimoto as well. And that's still the fight I want. I've wanted it for so long. Mm-hmm. And like little things keep happening that just push it away, put it on the shelf, and Akimoto lost, and then Haggerty just gets knocked out, and you're like, please, I just want to see that matchup. And maybe that happens without a belt on the line at some point. I don't know, but I want to see that fight so bad. So I am rooting for Akimoto here, even though Anahachi coming back and getting a win over Akimoto after everything, been gone for so long and all this stuff, would be pretty cool too. But
the only guy to beat Superlek, I think, in one, Anahachi.
Yeah. Like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, something like that.
A lot of people say it was a robbery. So
yeah.
Was this the unanimous decision in 2021?
Yeah, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's Superlek's only blemish on his one record, and a lot of people think it did not deserve to be a loss. Especially, I think Chatri was desperate to make that rematch for a long time, and he was trying to get that belt on Superlek. So,
and she's like, "No, I'm good."
Yeah.
Darkseid did not beat him.
All right. Well, there we go.
Yeah, I think that's the last fight we're gonna cover.
Yeah. We made it
for this card. There's some other fights on this card that they're gonna, I think, deliver, but it's just, trying to go through everything in a timely manner. Some of them can't get brought up.
Yeah, and shout out, we had a ton of people join us today. Thank you so much for joining us in the chat. It always makes the show so much better when we have everybody being so interactive. But a lot of good things with this episode. Will, I mean, especially we had our boy Nick Atkin with us, right? Which made this episode super special. And really, Nick, thank you so much. You're going to see all of Nick's socials there on the bottom of the screen on the ticker.
Dude, you know what's so funny about that?
Nick. What?
I was like typing all that. Also, sorry for missing so people on the chat. We didn't put everybody up on the chat on the stream today because Rich, our producer's out. So I'm trying to do a bunch of stuff. So I've missed some things in the chat, so I apologize. But that means also is that I typed up the ticker at the bottom. And as I'm typing it, once I finished it, I was like, it's the same handle on all three. But I already typed it. So I was like, I might as well leave it.
For convenience. Yeah, I've made it the same. But I've had a blast, guys. Anytime you want to talk about one, just hit me up. If it's this time of day, I can do it. If it's in the middle of the night, a little tougher. I live in Hong Kong, obviously. But no, I had a great time. I might be back myself tonight doing some sort of preview. If anyone's watching and wants to tune in roughly 12 hours or so, I'll be.
Yeah, Chester just asked right now, podcast tonight or tomorrow morning. Austin saying would love to see y'all together more often. You guys are the GOATs for real. Really look forward to your guys' one coverage so much. Thank you so much, Austin. Genevieve just sending out a bunch of hearts. Just a dream. We had a ton of people joining us today. It was so much fun.
Yeah, fun stuff. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Nick, for hopping on.
Yeah, Nick, was there anything else that you wanted to plug before we get going here?
Well, just that, I'm got the new setup you can see behind me. You guys were given the world first premiere of this. And I should be back. Yeah, I'm planning on doing one tonight, maybe in about 12 hours. So morning time, US, evening, Asia. And it's going to be on my personal channel now, I think. I'm not sure. I might do some stuff on Sportskeeda still, but follow me, Nick Atkins 1 Championship News on YouTube, or the handle is Nick Atkin 1. Same thing. I'll put the link on my Twitter. Same
Nick
deal.
Atkin 1 everywhere?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Taking over the world everywhere. That's the plan. So tune in, please. Give me a like and subscribe on my personal channel if you haven't already. Most of my content now, video-wise, is going to be on there, and I'll be in Bangkok landing on Thursday. I'll bring you interviews on the ground and fight news, recaps, everything for Bangkok Post and Sports Kita. I've got 2 gigs now. Yeah, everything's all go. It's
Will,
crazy, guys.
Hardest working man. I mean, nonstop. This gentleman in Denver the entire time was posting something new, was getting exclusive information. And like he'd be like, "Sorry guys, I just have to post this real quick." Like, dude, you don't have to apologize. Like, you're literally working nonstop, dude. It's all good.
Meanwhile, we just have a burger in our mouths.
Yeah.
I need to learn to chill out.
There's levels to this game. You know what I mean?
You told me I almost passed out on the fight morning, right? I literally stood up and nearly collapsed, and Shane Faison had to help me. I think I was working too hard. I didn't stop from Monday morning till Friday night.
You're a machine.
Yeah.
Dude,
no, I need to chill out and have a burger every now and then, I think. Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll have one in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So you boys are going to go, right?
Yes.
Oh, hesitation.
We'll go ahead and say it right now. We've been kind of keeping it as a mystery, kind of. But yes, we will be in Atlanta to cover that event. Pepper, hopefully he's there too. He said, "When do I get on one of these? We'll definitely have you on, Pepper." I just want to say to anybody who watches our stuff that doesn't follow and watch Nick on his stuff, like, what are you doing? If you like what we do with one, like, Nick's the gold standard. So, like, for sure, subscribe, follow all his stuff. Shout out Polar Nights on Twitch. I love this show. It is the perfect evolution of beard growth.
That's hilarious.
I'm getting a beard trim this afternoon. I'm a little scraggly. Sorry.
Oh, that's funny. I see it there. Shout out Boats McGoats one more time. Says Romero, say my name again. Boats McGoats. There it is. Yeah, Polar Nights. I love this show. That's so funny. And Chester, watch both of your casual. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
I love what Nick, you guys are doing. You're killing it, and I was in awe of what you were doing. I thought you were great on the ground in Denver. You're a great addition to the media in one, and I'd love to see you at an event in Thailand. That's it. I'm pushing Will.
Whoa.
Will wants to go, I think. I don't know, Miro. We can convince you.
I am so down to go. Are you kidding me? I was actually talking to Will, and somebody on one of the recap videos said we'd love to see you guys in Thailand, and my exact response was that's the goal. We would love to cover one of the fights over there. That's fantastic. And then thank you for sharing the new background. Will and I will send you a picture of us together so you can put it up there as well.
Yeah.
All these posters and a random picture of the beard evolution. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you once again, Mr. Nick Atkin. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Will, for all the analysis, but also producing the show tonight. Thank you,
Nick,
everybody.
We're gonna end it real quick, Nick, but go ahead, stay on if you don't mind.
And then am I in trouble?
Maybe we'll see.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode of Story of the Fight.